Let's introduce Helen Acosta. Let's introduce Helen Acosta.
This is Dominic Iskandar. He's a Bakersfield College student, and he is the single father of 3 children. He was interviewed by Jorge Barrentos, whose article appeared in the January 28th, 2010 edition of the Bakersfield Californian. In the article, Jorge explained that Dominic had to make a choice. It's a choice that a lot of students have to make. He had to choose whether to feed his kids or buy his textbooks. Now, a lot of us have been in a similar situation, and Dominic is not alone at all. Because according to the National Center for Education Statistics 2013-2014 Bakersfield College report, 40% of our students get Pell Grants. In order to qualify for a Pell Grant, you need to be at or below the poverty line. So 40% of our students live at or below the poverty line. Now, this is an issue that's important to me because there was a time that I lived below the poverty line. It was just after the Northridge earthquake. In fact, this is an aerial view of the street right next to the one where I lived. Luckily, my apartment was not condemned, but I couldn't get to work, and my husband couldn't get to work for 2.5 months. And so we both lost our jobs. And the only way that we got through this period of time and I didn't have to drop out of school was because of the Jewish food bank that was 1.5 miles from our home. As a result, ever since the Renegade Pantry began, I have supported it every single month with a monetary donation. I care deeply about the pantry and I want it to succeed because I know how hard it is for students to survive when they don't have the basics. So today, let's talk a little bit about BC's starving students. We'll talk about the services of the Renegade Pantry, and finally, we'll talk about what you, as students here at BC, can do to help other students and make the pantry more usable for everyone. So first of all, does BC really have starving students? Well, if they live in Bakersfield and the greater Kern County area, but in particular in the Bakersfield metropolitan area, yeah, we really do have starving students. A lot of students leave high school and they wonder what's next. A lot of their parents don't keep them at home. And according to the Brookings Institute May 24th, 2016 report, among 20 to 24-year-olds in the Bakersfield metropolitan area, 49% are unemployed who want to be employed. That's enormous. The national statistics for unemployment are at 8%. And here in Bakersfield, 20 to 24-year-olds are at 49% unemployment. Now, it's especially difficult for students because you're more than likely unemployed and the cost of education has risen dramatically in community colleges. When I was in college in 1987, we started out with a $5 unit fee. Now, the semester before and every year before that, there had been no fee. It was free to attend community college. But in 1987, it started out with a $5 a unit fee and $50 for the whole semester. So once you went above 10 units, everything beyond that was free. I took 27 units one semester.
Oh my God.
And I survived. But we had the $5 a unit fee, and then in 1998 it jumped up over double to $11 a unit. And then in 2008, it again more than doubled to $26 a unit. And today we're at $46 a unit. And that, is difficult. You're living this reality. That leads to, with student fees, 12 units is about $600 unless you have a bog waiver. That is really difficult for students. I mean, my first semester at a CSU was $325. And you're paying more than that now. So it's rough. And that's why the pantry began. According to Sean Newsom, who was the first pantry coordinator, who was interviewed in the spring 2010 Renegade, the reason that the pantry began was because there were so many students on campus who couldn't afford even food. It was the height of the recession. Unemployment was on the rise. We had some of the highest foreclosure rates in the United States, and according to Newsom, too many of our students went home, and there was nothing edible in their refrigerators. Yeah, I know there are potato butts in there, it's weird. And as a result, students couldn't think, and a lot of people were beginning to drop out. So the student government took action, and they opened the Renegade Pantry. The Renegade Pantry exists to help students be able to focus on school because they have enough food to be able to think. And it began in 2011. In their first semester, according to the RIP, March 14th, 2012, they served over 6,000 students. And today they continue to serve large amounts of students. What do they provide? Well, every day you can go to the student government and you can get day-old bread that's donated by Panera. So every day you can get your daily bread. Mm-hmm. Also, once or twice a month, you can get a whole bag or box of food. And that the next time that they are doing a food distribution is Thursday, February 16th. And then finally, every single Tuesday mornings, you can get fresh fruits and vegetables. And you can get all of this for free. All you have to do is go and sign up with student government. Now, Jonathan Riccardi was a student here in my class in 2012, and he was interviewed by KGET March 8th, 2013. In the interview, he said, "There were times I was hungry before I knew about this program." We found out about the program when he was sitting right there. And then his grades improved because he could actually think. So the Renegade Pantry is a student-run organization. It runs on the work of volunteers like you. Now, I'm not going to ask you for any money because earlier we found out that 40% of BC students are living below the poverty line. Nobody has any money, you're students. So instead, I'd like to ask you for something you do have, which is time, especially time between classes. That time when you had planned to study, but instead you're just looking at the sky, or going down into the library and going on your social network. Instead, why don't you consider volunteering for the Renegade Pantry? According to David Guinto, who was the pantry coordinator last year, who was interviewed February 7th, 2016 for the Renegade RIP by A.K. Pachla, the most important thing that you can do beyond volunteering is to just spread the word about the pantry. Too many students don't know about it, and some of the funding for the pantry comes from grants. So they get that money through the number of people who use the pantry. So you don't have to be starving in order to use the pantry. If you know that you are going to have to take some time off work to study for midterms, why don't you go to the pantry, get yourself some food to offset the money you're not going to make? Or if you're living with your parents and you're still at home, just go get a box of food at the pantry and then you will be contributing as well. All right? So you spread the word, you use the pantry, and you volunteer. You can volunteer by going to the Bakersfield College Student Life site, go to Student Assistance, and then go to volunteer. And you can volunteer several times a month. Now, I know you have exams coming up, midterms are coming up, and I know you're using your time wisely. You're probably beginning already to go into that procrastination phase. And so when that happens, I want you to think about, instead of procrastinating in ways that make you feel bad, procrastinate and volunteer at the same time. That way you can feel good about the time you spend procrastinating. So today I talked with you a little bit about the Bakersfield College Renegade Pantry. I talked with you about our starting students, what the pantry does, and how you are instrumental in helping the pantry succeed. So the next time that your procrastination meter goes into overdrive, I want you to become a food renegade and volunteer at the pantry. Because you can be part of the solution. You can do what the Renegade Pantry has set us to do. you can eliminate hunger one student at a time.